Namaskar. Welcome to Yoga with Sapna in Gurgaon, India. I've been practicing yoga since the past 19 years and teaching from my studio here since the past 10. My topic for today's video is yoga inversions, yoga upside down postures. So in yoga we have essentially three full inversions, which are the headstand, the handstand and the shoulder stand, and then we have many partial inversions or half inversions and supported inversions. So in this video, I'm only going to be talking about the many benefits of inverted asanas or inverted postures, and then in the following videos, I'm demonstrating all the inversions, both the full and the half inversions. I want to first convince you of the amazing benefits of turning the body upside down, and then I want you to watch the subsequent videos and make an informed choice on which ones are suitable for you. So if for some reason you don't want to do the full inversions, perhaps you're saving yourself due to some medical condition like cervical spondylosis or hypertension, or perhaps you're just very old and frail and you don't want to bring your body into a full inversion, well, in that case you should choose from the supported inversions or the half inversions. And now back to our topic, which is the benefits of inverting the body. So there are four major body systems which really benefit when we turn ourselves upside down, and these are our cardiovascular system, our lymphatic system, our nervous system and our endocrinal system. I want to talk about each of these now. So let's start with the cardiovascular system, which is also called our circulatory system. So this is comprised of our lungs, our heart, our arteries and our veins. So let's all picture the circulatory system together. Our two lungs here, which are broader at the bottom and narrower at the top. The narrow part of the lungs goes all the way up here, just under the collarbones. And then we have this fist-sized organ, the heart, which is nestled a little bit into the left lung, which makes the left lung a little smaller than the right. And then we have the arteries, these tubes, these blood vessels which carry oxygenated blood to every part of the body. And then we have the veins which carry the deoxygenated blood back to the heart. So let's consider the benefit of inverting the body for our lungs. Now, the lower lungs, the blood pools in the lower lungs, so our lower lungs are more compressed and more saturated than the upper lungs. And when we breathe in, the air and the oxygen goes to all the open alveoli of the upper lungs. And unless we really do some strenuous exercise or we do some deep breathing, we're not really able to pull that air, that oxygen down into the depths of the lungs. We're not able to increase that ratio of air to blood in the lower lungs. But now when we invert, this blood goes and pools in the upper lungs, which have got nicely aired out and ventilated the whole day, and the lower lungs get a chance to get nicely aired out now, nicely ventilated, nicely oxygenated. So then inversions ensure that the entire lung tissue remains healthy. Now let's consider the benefit of inversions for our heart. For the short patch of time that we invert the body, maybe half a minute, 1 or 2 minutes, 3 minutes, the heart gets a very valuable rest. For that short time, the heart doesn't have to work so hard to pump the blood from the lower extremities back upwards towards the heart. Then the heart is benefited in another way. When we are upside down, when we are inverted, the heart rate slows down. Let's see how this happens. So when the body is inverted, the blood is rushing down with the force of gravity and it's going all the way to the heart and further down all the way to the brain. Now when the blood is coming down with a lot of force and when it reaches the area of the neck, the area of the carotid arteries, our baroreceptors kick in. Now baroreceptors are sensors or mechanisms which exist in the blood vessels of all vertebrates, and these calibrate the blood flow to the brain. So when they sense that the blood is coming down with so much force, they quickly send a message to the brain, and the brain sends a message to the heart to slow down. So the heart rate slows down, the blood pressure slows down, which is very beneficial for all of us. But it's quite ironic, despite this, inversions are contraindicated, means not allowed, for people with hypertension. And this is not because of this reason, but because inversions place a lot of pressure on the chambers and the valves of the heart. So if we already have a compromised coronary circulation, we don't want to further tax the chambers and valves of our heart. So if you have hypertension, then you could possibly go for the half inversions. However, it's interesting to note that in my class, I have several students who suffer from hypertension, they're on medication for it as well, and yet they're doing the full inversions, the handstands, headstands, without their blood pressure getting affected. And there are others who have hypertension, and if they bring their body into a full inversion, then they immediately start feeling heavy in the head and their blood pressure gets thrown off balance. So you need to do a little bit of trial and error, and you need to experiment a little and see, because there's no one same rule for everyone. We all are a little different. And these were the benefits for the heart. Let's move on to the benefits of inversions for our veins now. Now we know that the veins are carrying this deoxygenated blood back to the heart, and unlike the arteries, the veins make up a low pressure system, and they are dependent on contractions, muscular contractions, and on gravity to move this blood along against up to the heart. So when we invert, gravity is acting in their favor, and this deoxygenated blood is able to come down smoothly. So we could achieve this through some kind of aerobic exercise or strenuous exercise as well, because when the heart is pumping fast when we are exercising, so the blood surges down the arteries with a good momentum, good force, and because the heart is pumping fast, it surges up the veins also smoothly with a good flow, good momentum. But inversions are a much easier way, much more effective way to achieve this, and much more practical, because we can do inversions all our life long. And as we grow older, it becomes a little difficult to do very strenuous aerobic exercise. But once the physical body has learnt an asana, learnt a posture, learnt an inversion, then you are able to do it all your life long. You could be 100 years old, not a problem. For example, I am 52 today, and I find very strenuous aerobic exercise would be a little challenging, but I have learned these inversions, and now I can happily do them all my life and reap the benefits of these inverted postures. Let's consider now the benefits of inversions for our lymphatic system. So our lymphatic system is responsible for waste removal from the body, for maintaining fluid balance, and also for boosting our immune system. Now lymph vessels arise among the capillary beds of our circulatory system, but they have their own channels. They have their own tubes through which all this waste is getting propelled along, and then the waste is deposited in the region of the subclavian veins and dumped back into the circulation. So this is here in the region of the collarbones. And basically what we need to understand is that the lymphatic system is like a sewage system in the body. It has an intricate underground network connected to all parts of the body to help keep it clean and healthy. And when we invert, then inversions act like a pump in the basement, helping to propel that sewage into the pipeline. And just like our veins, the lymphatic system also has a low pressure system, and it is dependent on muscular movements and gravity to propel its fluids along. Now sometimes lymph is not able to maintain proper fluid balance in the lower extremities, and this often happens to people who have to stand for long stretches of time, and they might find that they suffer from problems like varicose veins and edema. So varicose veins are the veins of the lower legs which get a little enlarged and bluish and angry looking, and then because of this pressure of standing for long hours, the capillaries, these tiny blood vessels in the lower legs, these also can erupt and burst at certain places, and there are little pools of blood in our lower legs. And edema is when the feet swell up, again due to lots of pressure on the lower body. So when all of this happens to us, then doctors will also tell us to put our feet up, get the legs up, elevate the legs, which is exactly what we're trying to achieve through our inversions. Next, I want to talk about the benefits of inversions for our nervous system. So inversions affect a baseline opening of blood vessels in the brain and makes them more efficient at constricting, at dilating and shunting blood to all the active areas of the brain. Inversions also affect the movement of the cerebrospinal fluid, which is the juice of the central nervous system and which moves from the brain to the spinal cord. So inversions put a lot of pressure on the top of the head, on the skull, and this promotes elasticity of our cranial bones, which in turn leads to a greater production of the cerebrospinal fluid in the ventricles of the brain. So essentially what this means is that inversions boost the production of this very important fluid of the central nervous system, which is the cerebrospinal fluid. And finally, I want to talk about the benefits of inversions for our endocrinal system. So of all the endocrinal glands, the ductless glands in the body, there are 4 which really benefit when we invert, and these are our thyroid and our parathyroid glands here in the region of the base of the throat, and then 2 important endocrinal glands in the region of the skull, the pineal and the pituitary glands. So let's talk about each of them. I want you to visualize your thyroid gland, which is a butterfly shaped gland here at the base of the throat on either side of the neck. So this is a very key gland, a very important gland in the body, and the thyroid promotes protein synthesis, proper growth of the muscle and bone tissues. The thyroid is responsible for the overall growth and development of the body. The thyroid controls our body's metabolism and also heat production. The thyroid controls our heart rate, heart contractibility, blood pressure even, and very often a thyroid which is off balance can lead to weight problems. So if our thyroid is sluggish, if it's under functioning, then we could suffer from a condition which is called hypothyroidism, and we might be a little overweight. And on the other hand, if the thyroid is over-functioning, overactive, then we could suffer from a condition which we call hyperthyroidism, and we could be underweight, we could be losing weight. So think of the parathyroid gland now. These are 4 tiny little glands encased within the thyroid, and these are responsible for maintaining proper calcium level in the blood and in our tissues. Now for normal skeletal activity, normal cardiac muscle activity, and for the blood clotting process in the body, we need balanced calcium levels. And calcium levels are very important especially for women in their menopausal and perimenopausal years, because during these years there's tremendous calcium leach from the body. So to keep these 2 key endocrinal glands in a state of balance, among all the inversions, especially good is the shoulder stand. Because in all our other inversions, we are completely inverted and the blood is going all the way to the brain. But in the shoulder stand, we're balanced on our shoulders and our chin is thrust into the chest. We create a nice firm chin lock. So the blood comes and pools here in the region of the upper chest. And every area here is bathed in a lot of oxygen-rich blood. And so our thyroid and our parathyroid, which are right here, these get deeply benefited. And then we should hold the shoulder stand for a couple of minutes to get the benefit of this posture. If you can't do the shoulder stand, remember the supported shoulder stand. So I'll be explaining all of this when I'm demonstrating the inversions. And in my class, I've experienced many students who've had hypothyroidism. They've been on medication for it. And then with a regular practice of shoulder stand over the weeks and months, they've been able to slowly taper their medicine and completely get off the medication. In consultation with their doctor, of course, always. So whenever you are on medication for something, consult with your doctor, consult with your yoga teacher, consult yourself and your common sense, and then go for something which is sensible and suitable. So let's consider the benefit to the other 2 important endocrinal glands, the pineal and the pituitary glands here in the region of the brain. So these 2 glands regulate all the growth and the sex hormones in the body. The pineal gland is very often said to be the physical representation of a subtle endocrinal gland in our subtle pranic body, which is often called the third eye or the eye of intuition or the Agya chakra. And the pituitary gland is a tiny little pea-sized gland, and it's often called the master gland of the body because it controls the hormone production of many of the other endocrinal glands, and it produces many powerful hormones. So besides these benefits, I want us also to consider the benefit of inversions to our brain, for our back and for our internal organs. So now the brain is just 1/15 the size of the whole body, but it requires more than 1/5 of the total blood supplied by the heart, which means that the brain needs a continuous and a good supply of blood to remain healthy. And if the brain is to get continuous blood supply, there's no reason why the brain should dull with age. There's no reason why our thinking powers should dull or slow down. The brain can remain active and healthy lifelong. And when we invert and keep the brain nicely flushed with blood, we are also boosting all our thinking powers, our reasoning powers, our analyzing powers, our memory, our judgment, our concentration ability. So now for the back, when we invert, it's like a traction for the back. So during the course of the day, we kind of do dump into the lower back, and the lower back area gets compressed. And very often there's tension and stiffness in the lower back, and the discs between our vertebrae also get compressed. Sometimes the nerves emerging out of our spine in this region also get compressed. So when we invert, the spaces between the vertebrae increase, and there's a great relief from tension and pain and stiffness in the lower back region. But to get the benefit for the back, we need to choose an inversion which we can hold for a short while, for 2, 3, 4 minutes. And so, for example, if you can't hold the headstand for more than 10, 15 seconds, this should not be the posture that you choose for giving your back relief. And probably a good asana could be resting your feet against the wall and doing a half inversion, or maybe using an inversion swing, as you'll be seeing me demonstrating in the next few videos. Now, the benefit for our internal organs. Now, there is a constant stress on the organs as they are drawn down by the force of gravity, and with the passing years this subtle stress increases, and there is a danger of any of the organs suffering from a prolapse. So, a prolapse means when any organ kind of shifts out of place, if it falls forward or downwards out of its original place, and this can cause stress on the body. So, when we invert, it's as though all the organs kind of gravitate, they're getting drawn down from the opposite side now, and this offers them tremendous relief. So that sums up all the benefits of the inverted postures, and I hope you're convinced that they are in fact extremely beneficial. So I'd like you to carry on now and move to my demonstrations, watch them, and then choose a set of inversions which are good for you and which suit you. And in case anybody is still not convinced, then one final benefit. So the ancient yogis of India used to say that inversions arrest our aging process. So if you're familiar with pran, this dynamic life energy within, in yoga they say pran is divided into 5 different types: pran, apan, saman, udana and vayan, depending on the different areas of the body it's located in. And when we invert, when we turn upside down, the flow of all these pranic forces within is reversed, and one of the benefits of this is that it arrests and slows down our aging process. So that finally caps and finishes off all the benefits. I hope it was beneficial, and namaskar.